We have a lot to learn from cars of yesteryear. After all, they are the foundations of what we drive on the road today. In this episode, we'll tell you about when Hartford was almost the automotive capital of the country, and when snazzy new technology meant single-cylinder engines producing 10 whole horsepower. But who needs driving goggles when you've got night vision? Welcome to Cars.com's On the Road. Welcome to Cars.com's On the Road. I'm Amanda Bergen.
And I'm Jim McPherson.
Jim, we are standing in front of one fine piece of machinery. Tell me about this car.
This is a 1912 Pope Hartford, and it's on display at AAA's headquarters on Farmington Avenue in West Hartford. It was made in Hartford, Connecticut.
Pope Hartford brings to mind some sort of religious vehicle, is that right?
Actually, it was named after Colonel A.A. Pope, and Colonel Pope is noted for having put America on wheels in the 1880s, but he didn't do it with the automobile. He did it with the Columbia bicycle. And it's only around the turn of the century that he turned his attention to four-wheeled, gasoline-powered vehicles.
So this wasn't one of the first cars, but it certainly is a stunning vehicle to look at.
No, it is not one of the first cars. As a matter of fact, cars predate this by at least 22 years, and there are some historians who would put it before that. But this is certainly a prime example of the manufacturing talents of this area. And in fact, throughout the Northeast, we saw a large number of automobile manufacturers.
Well, and Hartford at one point could have been the automotive capital of the world, the Detroit, so to speak. What happened?
Well, there is some debate about that, but Colonel Pope, along with Wall Street interests, owned the Selden patent, which governed the manufacture of all cars. And it was only until Henry Ford broke the patent that we saw a lot of that manufacturing effort and the volume swing over to Detroit, which is where Ford was located.
I think a lot of people think of Henry Ford as the father of the automobile, but he wasn't one of the first manufacturers.
Not really, no. What he did was he was the first manufacturer to bring a car out that most people could afford. This Pope Hartford, for example, started at $4,000.
In 1912?
In 1912.
That's a lot of money. And now this goes for $500,000.
It's not going anywhere at any price.
AAA is holding on to it. AAA is something we all think of as coming to rescue us on the side of the road if we've run out of gas or get into an accident, but there are a lot of other benefits that the Motor Club provides. Tell me about them.
There are indeed. In addition to the road service, the tour books, the maps, and so forth, AAA is also a travel agency, the largest leisure travel agency in the country. AAA also is active in financial services. We do loans for cars and homes. We have savings accounts with very high interest rates, and we also have a driving school.
You're a master driving instructor.
I hold that license, yes, and I will tell you about our driving school. We have a little surprise in store for you later on in the program.
I hear Amanda and driving school in the same sentence, and everybody should be nervous.
No need to at all.
Yeah, right.
No.
Jim, this car, when it came out in 1912, was considered cutting edge, and in fact, it has almost none of the features that we see in cars today. In fact, there are cars that came out 10 years ago that were considered cutting edge and luxury cars, and those features are now run-of-the-mill, and we take them for granted in our cars of every day.
We do indeed.
Yeah. Do you remember crank windows and radios that only had AM where you had to push the button to get the station you wanted, and then steering wheels before power steering which you had to crank really hard just to turn left or right? Well, those things, not only do we not miss them, you can't even really find them in cars anymore. In fact, a lot of the main features were considered luxury items just 10 years ago. Prime example, this key fob. It has no key to stick in the ignition. You stand near the car, it unlocks, you get in the car, and off you go. You don't stick anything in the ignition. Then there's the stuff we don't even really think about anymore. We assume they'll be there, like power windows, power locks, and power side view mirrors. Inside the car, there's stuff like the power steering, and then there's the really fun stuff we do think about because it's what makes driving really fun these days. There's the navigation system. Instead of going in the glove compartment and pulling out that map, all you do is press a little button and up pops your built-in navigation system that you don't even need to look at anymore because it talks to you. Then there's the safety features. A lot of those things I just mentioned were maybe a little bit more fun or maybe a little bit more convenient, but the things that are built into cars now for safety features really go behind the scenes. You don't want to know they're there, but you'll know they're there when they're really important. There are the built-in airbags in lots of different positions and stability control. And all these things were considered luxury features not 10 years ago. They're standard in most of the cars and trucks we buy today. So to find out what may be the standard features in the cars of tomorrow, let's head over and see what Jim's up to.
So what does the future hold? Great things if this Mercedes-Benz S550 at New Country Mercedes-Benz in Hartford is any indication. It has some safety features that you'll want to know about. Let's start with the headlights. Now, every car has headlights, but the headlights on this car are special. They'll automatically adjust when there's a car in front of the vehicle, whether it's going in the same direction or coming toward it. The headlights will actually dim just enough so that the other driver isn't dazzled. Then when the car passes or gets out of the way, it will immediately go back to full high beam projection. That's essential for safe nighttime driving. In the center of the grille, you'll see something else. It's a radar unit, and I'll get to some of the reasons that the radar unit is there in just a moment. Up by the rear view mirror are sensors that are able to tell when the driver is drifting out of his lane without using the directional signal. When that happens, it will automatically vibrate the steering wheel, giving the driver a hint that it's time to pay attention to the road and get back into his lane. Let's go to the inside of the car next. This car has a feature called Pre-Safe, and it will use the radar system to sense when a collision is unavoidable. When that happens, it begins to take safety precautions to improve the chances of the occupants riding through the collision with minimal injuries. Included on that list, the seat belts are pre-cinched, seat backs come up to the proper angle, and the radar unit is used for that purpose. That same radar unit is also used for the Distronic Plus cruise control. It will keep a preset gap between this car and the car in front. If the car in front slows, this car will slow. It even goes so far as to apply the brakes if that's necessary, and it can even bring this car to a complete stop. A very valuable safety feature. In addition to that, there's also night vision right here in the center of the instrument panel. And night vision at night gives you a view of the road ahead that simply has to be experienced to be believed. It's almost impervious to oncoming headlights, even drivers who refuse to dim their lights. You can see right beyond their cars in tremendous detail. And then for the navigation system, 3D navigation, you have to see it to believe it. It's all very convenient, and it all adds to safety. How soon will these safety devices begin showing up in the cars that most of us can afford? I don't know. But if history's any indication, it won't be too many years before many of these features begin appearing on mass-marketed vehicles. After the break, we're going to hit the road and have some fun. What's the last thing you should ask for at the service department? How about a tune-up? Sure, once upon a time, cars needed new plugs, points, and condensers every 10,000 miles or so. But today, most plugs last at least 60,000 miles, the points and condenser are gone, and the adjustments are done automatically. What you should do instead is check your owner's manual, look for the style of driving you do, then follow the recommended service schedule for that driving style. You'll find tune-ups are a thing of the past.
Before the break, we learned about the evolution of automotive technology, but that's got me wondering, is all that technology making us any safer? Jim, I don't know about you, but with a bright blue sky like this in front of a bright red convertible, this gives me a serious case of spring fever.
You are not alone.
With spring fever, you know, you want to get in the car, you want to go out and maybe hit the gas pedal a little bit harder, enjoy the day, but there are some things we need to think about as we move from icy, snowy driving into spring driving.
The first thing to recognize is that a lot of people share those sentiments, which means that you're going to have more company on the road.
Right.
Traffic density will go up. And that's especially true when you go into areas that are tourist meccas, along the Sound, for example, in the Connecticut coastline.
So what do we need to think about as we're going along? We've got a Sebring convertible here, and we have a Jeep Wrangler who are here at Bowles Motors. They've been very nice to lend us these two very fun cars. What are some different types of driving we need to be thinking about, and how do we go about doing that driving?
Let's take the convertible first. Convertibles are an absolute delight, but I don't find them delightful all that much on the interstate highway.
Does your hair get messed up?
My hair gets messed up terribly. In addition to that, the noise, the wind, and so forth and so on. But on a secondary road, such as those in this Ellington area of Connecticut, The conditions can be perfect for convertible driving. You're going about 40, 45, maybe 50 miles per hour. The noise levels are low. It's absolutely delightful.
Yeah.
But you also have to be aware of the fact that on those secondary roads, you have more intersections. You have more driveways, places of business where people come in and out. So you also have to be extremely cautious under those circumstances.
So watch a lead foot.
So watch a lead foot. You don't want that.
All right, well, just touching this car and looking at these cars make me want to get in and take a ride. So let's hit the road, Jack.
Let's.
Isn't this beautiful? It's so nice. Take it easy, go slowly. The sun is shining, it's a blue sky. It's such a great day to go touring in your car. Pile the kids in the back, grab your husband, go explore new places, find new towns, go for a drive on the shore. But there are two reasons to go slowly. A, obviously, it's not as safe because you don't have a roof over you, and especially if you have kids in the car, you want to be really careful. And B, how nice is it just to take it slowly for a change and drive slowly, don't be in such a hurry. And this way you get to enjoy the scenery more. All right, this is so much fun. It's a gorgeous day, we've got the top down, we're cruising along. Let's give Jim a call and see what he's doing. Oh, wait, hold on. Bluetooth. Okay.
Hello.
Hey Jim, it's Amanda. What are you doing?
The off-road segment is going very nicely. We're stopped right now, and I trust you've pulled over too?
No, I'm not on the phone while I'm driving. Gotta go.
So let's get started doing a little off-roading. I have a friend who's given me permission to use his private property, and this is a wonderful course. So let's begin. Good off-roading starts by keeping your hands in the proper position. You do not want to wrap your thumbs around the steering wheel, because if you do, while you're off-road, it's possible to hit an obstruction that can rip the wheel right out of your hands. And when that happens, you can actually injure your thumbs. The general rule that you want to follow when you're off-road is you go as slow as possible and as fast as necessary. You want to go as slowly as you can to make sure that you don't damage the vehicle or damage the trail. You want to go as quickly as you need to make sure that you maintain the momentum that will be required so that you don't get stuck. When you do a lot of driving on the street, you may be used to straddling obstructions and minor debris that gets in the road. That way you avoid hitting it with your tires. Off-road, if you have a major obstruction, you may actually want to run over it with your tires. That way you can be sure that it won't reach up and kick something vital underneath the vehicle.
Hey, how was your ride?
It was great.
Good.
Absolutely
you
great.
got some mud on the bumper there.
Well, we went off-road.
Nice.
We went off-road, and how was your ride in the convertible?
It was great. I did not go off-road. I went nice and slow, as you suggested.
Very good.
And I swear I was not driving when I talked to you on the phone.
I'm sure you weren't.
All right, so you have something up your sleeve for me next?
In our next segment, we're going to give you a driving evaluation. Read any good instrument panels recently? Manufacturers pack a tremendous amount of information into the dash panel right in front of the driver, but a lot of motorists fail to pick up on some of the subtler clues. For example, warning lights are color-coded. Red are for items that have to be paid attention to immediately. You have to attend to them right now for your safety or for the mechanical life expectancy of your car. Amber lights are warning lights that you should get to within a day or so. Blue and green lights are for informational purposes.
Before the break, Jim and I parted ways and each took a different kind of drive. But now it's time for me to learn how to cruise the right way. Jim has been kind enough to arrange for an evaluation of my driving skills today. So Steve Rourke from AAA is here to do just that. I know you're all so jealous. You'd love to be in my shoes right now. I'll have you know I did fail my driving test the first time out.
I understand that. I failed my driving test the first 2 times I took it.
All right, clearly I have a lot to learn, so let's get to it.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Steve, I haven't been this nervous since I was 16 years old.
That's okay, I'm nervous also.
Great. All right, take me through this.
Okay, first thing we want to do is set you up to drive the car effectively and safely, and that's the position behind the
I'm
wheel.
ready.
It's very important. Where you are sitting behind the wheel, you need to be at least 11 inches away from the steering wheel.
Okay.
That way it keeps you out of the airbag zone.
All right.
And the way to check that also is if you were to extend your arms, the top of the steering wheel should come just where your wrist turns.
Oh,
This
all right.
allows you to use the correct muscles that
So
should
I
be
need to
used.
move a little bit closer.
A little bit closer would be okay.
Just,
There you go.
okay?
And you're still 11 inches away, which is very good.
Okay.
Now, the second thing we want to do is adjust the mirrors. We'll start with the inside rear view mirror. You want to see as much of the rear window as possible.
Got it?
Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll take a look at the side view mirrors. We want to adjust them so the side of our car just disappears. You don't want to see our car. We'll assume that it's always back there.
He's funny too. Okay, that's adjusted. Okay.
Okay, and our car has just disappeared.
Yes.
This looks good. You're in the correct position. Now we can put the seatbelt on.
All right, click it or ticket.
Click it or ticket.
All right, that's done.
Once we're belted in, foot on the brake, please.
Yes.
And now you can turn the ignition key to start the engine.
Here we go.
Very
Right.
good. Okay, now what we'll do here is we'll shift from park into drive.
But the emergency brake is on.
The emergency brake should remain on until you shift the car into gear.
Why?
That way it's resting, the car itself is resting on the emergency brake and not on the transmission.
Okay. Clearly I would have failed already. All right, can I release this now?
You may release the emergency
All right.
brake. Okay,
Away we go.
we are in gear. Let's go. Whoa, okay, whoa, let's slow down a little.
Whew, I forgot
Okay.
you had your own brake.
Yes, I do.
Whew, I'm nervous. Okay, so we're driving along
We're driving along. All right, let's talk about following distance for a moment.
Let's.
You should be 3 to 4 seconds behind the car ahead of you.
All right, how do you figure that out?
Well, when the car ahead of you goes past a fixed object, begin counting. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000.
All right.
If you reach that fixed object before 3 1000, you are following the other car too closely.
Oh.
And that 3 to 4 second following interval allows you to avoid an obstacle in the road. And as we approach this left turn, you're going to put your signal on.
Okay.
And the rule of thumb for using your signal is to put it on so you don't confuse the other drivers as to your intentions.
All right.
So if you're approaching an intersection and there are driveways, you'd put the signal on just before the last driveway.
So you actually could put your blinker on too early.
Yes, you could.
Okay. All right, blinkers on,
Blinkers
turning
on,
left,
turning left,
here I go.
okay.
Where should I be looking right now?
Well, you should be looking down the road as far as you can see.
Yeah.
Most drivers look too close to their own vehicle. They
Yeah.
look only as far as the car ahead of them. And we are social animals and want to remain with with the pack, but if you look further down the road, it allows you to see more of what's going on, gives you more time to react to situations.
Can we go fast? When do we get to go fast?
Not yet, not this lesson. We'll work to that.
Whew, we made it. You're
We made
safe.
it. Thank you.
So how'd I do?
You did very well.
Good, great. Did I pass?
Well, it wasn't a test, just an evaluation of the skills.
Okay, but did I pass?
Well, your skills and habits are consistent with an experienced driver's.
He's not going to answer.
I'm not going to answer.
Wow, okay. Well, thank you so much, Steve.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Anytime.
Great.
He clearly was not going to answer that question. So I'll ask you, would I have passed that test?
You know, Amanda, I'm not sure I saw enough of the session to make a
All right,
valid
enough.
comment.
On to more definitive answers. We are here at New Country Mercedes-Benz in Hartford. This place is so clean, this service center, I could eat off the floor. Not that I'd want to, but I could.
This is an impressive service department, no two ways about it.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of questions to get to from our viewers, and Jim, as many of you know, is our ultimate car expert. He writes a column Wednesday Wheels in the Hartford Courant. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I see do-it-yourself air conditioning repair kits in the store. My air conditioning is dead. Is it worth it?
Well, that's an interesting question, and it's one that comes in all the time for people who are suffering air conditioning problems. Most air conditioning failures are probably caused by a loss of refrigerant, and so the idea of just buying a can of the stuff inexpensively at a car parts store and putting it in yourself is certainly appealing,
Sure.
but it's really not a good way to go. For several reasons. First of all, if you're low on refrigerant in the air conditioning system, it means you have a leak somewhere.
Right.
You wouldn't pump gas into a leaking gas tank, would you?
Right. No.
So you shouldn't put refrigerant into a leaking air conditioning system either. You should fix the leak first. Then there's the issue of how much refrigerant should you put in. Modern air conditioning systems are critical in terms of the level of refrigerant in there, and an error of just an ounce or two one way or the other can destroy the system.
Yeah, you could really screw it up.
So I would suggest leaving it to the experts for that reason. And then finally, there are any number of reasons why air conditioners fail that have nothing to do with the refrigerant level.
So leave it to the experts.
Leave it to the experts.
All right. What do I need to worry about before I go on a long trip? Loaded question.
It certainly is, and I trust that they're referring to the car. In that case, we start at the bottom and work our way up. Make sure that the tires are in good shape, that they're wearing evenly. You also want to check the entire underbody of the car, exhaust system, fuel lines, brake lines. Make sure that everything is up to snuff for the trip. Under the hood, check the fluid levels, make sure the cooling system is sound, the hoses, the belts. Also, if the car is going to have any maintenance requirements during the trip, do it before you leave.
We're heading into spring and summer now. Is there anything in particular we should pay attention to given the season?
Absolutely. Lots of rain in the spring and summer. Make sure those wiper blades are in good shape. Sometimes winter can really beat them to a pulp. So make sure the blades are good. Make sure the windshield washer system works too.
Good point. I grew up being told to change the oil every 3,000 miles. I think we all have. Is that an old wives' tale now?
To a degree today it might well be. Over the years we've seen the intervals allowed between oil changes grow, and many manufacturers allow the owners of their cars to go much longer than that between oil changes and still keep the warranty in effect. In addition to that, there are cars that monitor the condition of the oil in the crankcase in some cases, or will monitor the usage that the oil's been put through and give you a recommendation right on the instrument panel as to when it's time for a change.
The car that does the work for you. I love that.
So do I.
Thank you, Jim. As always, you're the expert. We appreciate it. And we thank you so much for watching Cars.com's On the Road. For Jim McPherson, I'm Amanda Bergen. We will see you next time.